Valkyrie Profile Lenneth is a PSP port of a PlayStation 1 game that came out in 2000 from Tri-Ace and, at the time, Enix. The original Valkyrie Profile came out in limited print and instantly became a collector's item and sold for upwards of $100 on eBay. But now you can play the game on your PSP in a fairly faithful and fairly accurate port. The biggest thing going for this game is the fact that it's very unique. It's not like most JRPGs that you've played before. You're playing as a Valkyrie, or also known as a battle maiden. You're sent down from the heavens and you can basically listen to the cries of all these human souls who are in their last moments about to die, and you go and you watch these people get killed, and then you take their soul and you recruit it, and that person then becomes a part of your party. You can then fight with that person, train them, and then eventually the goal is to send that person up to Asgard so that that person can help fight the war for the gods up in Asgard. The way it works is that when you first start a game of Valkyrie Profile, you're given an ultimatum. You have 8 chapters until the world is going to end. Between that time, you have to actually bolster the army of Asgard by training people, sending them up, and then hopefully they'll be able to turn the tides of the war for the gods. If you don't want to go through all the trouble of training your guys and sending them up, what you can do is you can just play through the game or just totally slack off and do whatever you want. The game will end either way, but once that final confrontation comes, you're not going to be able to win the game. The combat in Valkyrie Profile takes place in these dungeons, which are these 2D side-scrolling levels. There's a little bit of platforming involved, which is really kind of half-baked and not very fun. But while you're in these dungeons, you'll occasionally encounter various monsters, and of course that'll take you into a battle. You can take up to 4 characters into battle, and you assign each character to one of the 4 face buttons on the PSP. So you just hit the 4 face buttons in any order to pull off a combo, and as long as your timing is right, you fill up this combo gauge. Once your combo gauge gets full, you can do a Purify Weird Soul attack, which is basically like a limit break in a Final Fantasy game, where you just do this super elaborate, over-the-top, crazy attack that does thousands and thousands of points of damage. And it's a little bit extreme, but it looks pretty cool for the first few times you watch it. As you fight, you earn experience, and you also earn capacity points. You use the capacity points to level up your characters by learning new skills or bolstering their traits, which in turn bolsters their hero rating, and of course you need a certain hero rating to send them up to Asgard. But most of the experience in the game is actually pooled among all your characters, so you can just distribute it as you see fit. There are some boss battles in the game as well that can be pretty tough and pretty drawn out, but usually as long as you're pretty good about managing your party and all of your items and equipment, it's really not too hard of a game. The problem is that a lot of this stuff that comes from managing your party really isn't explained very well in the game. 2 things that are very important to the game is managing your time and also managing the hero rating of all your characters and sending them up to Asgard. But the game doesn't explain any of that, so without any outside help, you'll be totally lost for at least a good half of the game. Now, between dungeons, of course, you'll have story sequences, as in any RPG. The problem is that in Valkyrie Profile, the story sequences are extremely long. Now, that wouldn't be so bad if the story was interesting throughout, but it really isn't. A lot of these cutscenes are so overwrought and heavy-handed that it's just almost painful to sit through a 10-minute cutscene about some guy contemplating death and destiny and all this stuff. The translation is poor as well, so the dialogue is just totally forced and uneven, and it just sometimes is really difficult to sit through these lengthy cutscenes. One of the remarkable things about the original Valkyrie Profile was the hand-painted backgrounds that were really vibrant and very detailed. Also, the character designs are very detailed and they all animate very well. Valkyrie Profile on the PSP looks the same. Some of the character sprites are a little bit blurry, and some of the backgrounds are a little bit blurry as well, and you can kind of see the age in some of the polygonal stuff that's going on in the background. But for the most part, the game still looks really good. What's been added to this version of Valkyrie Profile are these rendered cutscenes. Now, the cutscenes are all fairly high quality and they look pretty good, but next to this 2D art style of the original game, it can be a little bit jarring and a little bit off-putting. While this is a pretty good port overall, there are a few little things you might notice if you played the original. Whenever you access a menu, you'll have to wait a few seconds between the time that you press the button and the time that the menu actually appears on the screen. It's not a big deal, but it can be kind of annoying after a while because in a game like this, you really need to access your menu very frequently. Also, there's some slowdown in the game that you might encounter sometimes in dungeons or in battles when you're doing really big spell effects or special attacks. And it's not a big deal again, but it's still just a slight annoyance if you played the original. Valkyrie Profile is a really unique RPG that you should definitely check out if you missed it on the PlayStation 1 and are into RPGs, especially Japanese RPGs. It's got a lot of really cool concepts in it, and the story and the setup is actually really interesting. That said, the cutscenes can be kind of dry and kind of lengthy and not very enjoyable if you're just planning to have a game that you can pick up for 5 minutes and play on the go. If you have the patience and you're an RPG fan looking for a new experience, Valkyrie Profile is definitely a good choice. However, if you're an impatient gamer and you don't really want to put hours into leveling up these characters just to ditch them, this might not be the game for you.